Hello everyone, I'm Sunil of Vision Inc. Let me take you through our financial results for the first quarter of the fiscal year 2026. I'd now like to share with you the highlights for the first quarter of the fiscal year 2026. There was a slight increase in sales to 9.308 billion yen from the previous year. Operating profit decreased slightly by 0.3% compared to last year. In the global Wi-Fi business, sales were 4.66 billion yen, a 4.5% decrease, but segment profit was 1.44 billion yen, an increase compared to the previous year. In the information and communication service business, sales marked a slight increase from last year to 4.266 billion yen. This represents a 6.3% increase. Segment profit was 513 million yen, a 0.6% decrease. In the glamping and tourism business, sales were 378 million yen, marking an 11.1% increase and a new record high. Segment profit also reached a record high, increasing by 32 million yen, which represents a 12.5% increase. I will provide further details on this later. First, here are the consolidated performance topics that we report on every time. As for 2025 and 2026, we plan to make aggressive growth investments. While eSIM was included until last year, we have excluded it this time since we report on it regularly. Currently, we are actively investing in two areas, New York and the accounting BPO service, and our investment in these areas is higher than last year. We are now seeing solid sales growth from these initiatives. Now I would like to move on to the highlights of our consolidated financial results. As I mentioned earlier, we have been making substantial upfront investments in 2025 and 2026, aiming to reach a new starting point of 10 billion yen in profits by 2028. First, regarding the global Wi-Fi business. As you are all aware, the situation in China and the Middle East is currently very unstable, so business travel demand has somewhat stagnated. More people are changing their routes or traveling to other countries, so there is naturally some fluctuation. However, when various events occur in those areas, we see a temporary decline followed by a recovery. This pattern is emerging. So while we are currently in the midst of this direct impact, the fact that we have managed to secure solid profits despite this is due to our ability to effectively capture corporate demand. Although sales have decreased slightly, this is the key factor in our ability to maintain strong profits. I believe our sales would have been progressing quite smoothly if this wasn't happening. The information and communication service business is currently making substantial upfront investments in this area, while, as mentioned before, sales in the accounting BPO service are expanding steadily. We are still in the phase of upfront investment where we want to increase our workforce, but we are seeing positive results. Additionally, although this will take effect after this quarter, we have acquired a rental guarantee company. As a result, while we currently provide various cloud services and security solutions related to corporate offices within the information and communication service business, the addition of rental guarantees is expected to enhance the scope of our services and allow us to reduce risk. Regarding the glamping and tourism business, this growth does not come from increasing the number of glamping sites. While we plan to open a location on Awaji Island next year, we have begun focusing our efforts on intensively growing the inbound tourism segment. As proof of this, we acquired FreePlus in April and took over its business operations. With this move, we anticipate that inbound tourists will exceed 60 million by 2030, and we may even surpass that figure sooner. We will continue to grow this sector. We have received advice from various investors over the years, including suggestions to further expand our inbound tourism business. Now, however, the groundwork has finally solidified, and we are in a position to grow this segment. Therefore, we are now entering a phase where the upfront investments we have made in this area are turning a solid profit, and we will expand on that going forward. Looking ahead to Q2, Our focus is on ensuring the post-merger integration of the two companies we acquired proceeds smoothly and successfully as soon as possible. As I mentioned earlier, there are various challenges in the inbound tourism sector. One major challenge is the time difference. We sell to travel agencies around the world, but since their business hours are limited, to put it simply, we are working to establish a system capable of operating 24 hours a day. We are setting up an English language center in Cebu, Philippines, to create a mechanism for accessing travel agencies worldwide. This is our outlook for Q2. Next, I will talk about the consolidated profit and loss statement. First, while there are various issues in the Middle East and other regions, we have also gone through the COVID-19 pandemic extensively. Each time, we make slight adjustments to our business portfolio. While we do suffer a temporary setback, the most important thing is how we use that to drive future growth. Although we were directly impacted by several of these issues in the first quarter, we intend to focus on growing further by making various adjustments to our portfolio moving forward. Therefore, we are continuing our upfront investments as planned. We are not halting projects such as the one in Cebu, Philippines, or the M&A of these two companies. We are currently investing with the goal of reaching the 10 billion yen mark in the future. The figures are as I mentioned at the beginning. One thing I would like everyone to understand is that rather than for the full year, we disclose our numerical targets for the first and second halves of the year. When viewed on a full year basis, the progress rate may appear low, but we originally announced that we expected to achieve these figures by the interim period. Although we have fallen slightly short of that target, we view this as within the margin of error, and we intend to achieve solid growth in the second and third quarters from here on. Next, I'd like to report on the performance change of the global Wi-Fi business. This is presented as a 5-year timeline, which I believe will be easy for everyone to follow. Gradually, in the consumer segment, WorldeSIM adoption has been growing reasonably well in nearby areas such as South Korea and Taiwan. For distant areas, group travels, and corporate customers, we are seeing a clear segmentation where they use global Wi-Fi. So rather than revenue declining due to eSIMs, we are actually seeing profit growth. We are currently in a period of transformation in this area, and it is becoming increasingly important for us to target the inbound market, as I mentioned earlier, and ultimately the global market. Although there are various issues currently, such as those in the Middle East and China, we are moving forward with our forward-looking strategy while firmly securing profits. Next, I'd like to discuss changes in the number of international travelers. In the first quarter, regarding inbound and outbound travel has increased slightly. We recognize that while travel to nearby destinations has surged, the average length of stay has decreased. Regarding inbound travel, while there were various issues early on, such as sudden travel restrictions to and from nearby countries, Europe and the US have since filled that gap, and inbound travel is still showing significant growth. Therefore, we will continue to focus our efforts on this area as part of our strategy. Of course, we have been successfully acquiring customers so far, but we are building a system to further expand this growth. As for the investment plan, I would appreciate it if you could wait a little longer for that. Next, I'd like to discuss corporate use, which is the most important for global Wi-Fi. This segment has continued to grow steadily this quarter. Compared to the first quarter of last year, it's up 10.4%, and global Wi-Fi for Biz is up 14.1% compared to the same period last year, so the corporate segment is clearly showing solid growth. Next, we have global Wi-Fi's WorldeSIM. Sales have grown significantly to 350.3 million yen. The key point here is the repeat rate, which has increased by 4 percentage points from 36.6% last year to 40.6% this year. Additionally, Sales are projected to reach 1.58 billion yen this year. While the corporate segment is small, there are customers who have subsequently migrated to global Wi-Fi, even within that small corporate base. We plan to focus first on acquiring customers in regions close to Japan, and then move into a phase where we take on the global market. Next, I'll cover the performance change of our information and communication service business. As I mentioned at the beginning, this segment is growing steadily, excluding upfront investments. Of course, within this portfolio, there are various fluctuations depending on the time of year. Some services grow while others don't, and trends come and go. However, one of our company's strengths is that we have an organization capable of acting with agility, so we'll actively adapt to these changes and ensure steady sales growth. Since bookkeeping services are currently leading the way in terms of profitability here, I believe that once that segment becomes firmly profitable, we will see even more significant growth. Additionally, there is the full acquisition of the rental guarantee business I mentioned earlier. This will open up new opportunities for us to do things we couldn't do before, so we have high expectations for the synergies this will create. Next, the performance change of the glamping and tourism business. We are seeing steady upward growth in sales. Of course, we continue to focus on improving ADR, repeat customer rates, and occupancy rates as part of our strategic initiatives. Since the number of properties is still limited, the area expected to see significant growth from here on out is our inbound tourism business. We are currently working with travel agencies around the world to arrange various necessities for travelers coming to Japan. Inbound tourism is extremely popular worldwide, and we are starting to see results as demand from travel agencies around the globe remains very high. With the recent addition of Free Plus through an M&A deal, we have high expectations for the future. Next, I'd like to discuss the status of our company-wide recurring revenue services. We have made a slight update this time. Previously, we only included the global Wi-Fi basic fee, but just like with telecommunications companies, this includes options and various communication charges, and the ARPU is calculated as an average. We have incorporated that data usage that have add-ons built on top of the base service and recalculated them from the start, which results in this increase in revenue. The figure was 3.76 billion yen the year before last, 4.69 billion yen last year, and the forecast for this year is 5.65 billion yen. We intend to steadily build on this toward the 10 billion yen mark. Next, regarding assumptions for FY 2026. The exchange rate is set at 155 yen to the dollar, which is fluctuating in a somewhat uncertain range. The recovery rate for overseas travel is projected at 75%, though this figure is currently uncertain due to factors including the situation in the Middle East. While corporate travel is growing significantly, the situation for individual travelers remains uncertain due to factors such as the weak yen and rising surcharges. However, I do not foresee any particular issues with corporate travel. Recruitment is also proceeding well ahead of schedule, so I believe we can not only meet but exceed our targets in this area. Looking ahead to the next 2 fiscal years, we have set a high target of 17.9% operating profit for this year, and we intend to work in parallel to ensure we achieve that as well. Next, I'd like to discuss our efforts for growth. Regarding this cash allocation, we estimate 17.8 billion yen in cash generation over the next 3 years. We have set aside 10 billion yen as cash on hand. This serves as a buffer to allow us to respond flexibly in case of contingencies, so it acts as a kind of insurance, but we have designated it as base funding. Of this 17.8 billion yen, 8.9 billion yen is allocated to dividends. While our historical dividend payout ratio has been around 30% to 40%, we are now returning 50% to our shareholders. This 8.9 billion yen represents that portion. Furthermore, since we still have room to grow, this amount includes investments to support that growth, as well as M&A, various share-related activities, and share buybacks. In terms of growth investment and shareholder returns, specifically M&A, human capital, and share buybacks, we are currently investing 1.38 billion yen in M&A this year. We intend to keep you updated on this. Next, I'd like to discuss our tourism business. I'd like to focus specifically on this area. We launched this business in 2024, and we actually turned a profit starting last year. Sales have grown from 226 million yen to 653 million yen. Since this includes Free Plus, we expect significant growth moving forward. We are currently building a global network with the travel agencies I mentioned earlier. We face challenges such as time zone differences that inevitably reduced our operating hours. To address this, we are building a system that allows us to take action during the counterparts' active hours, no matter where they are on the globe. Moving on to the next page. We intend to move forward with this multilingual operation. First, regarding inbound tourism. We are currently on track to exceed the 60 million mark, a figure we expect to surpass. Within this sector, we have been expanding our customer base in various ways, not just through our travel services, but also through offerings like WorldeSIM, Global Wi-Fi, and Ninja Wi-Fi. In terms of our approach, we're acquiring customers at airports through counters and vending machines, for example. We are expanding our services through inbound tourism channels, as well as on websites worldwide that promote travel to Japan or provide travel guidance. Since inbound tourism is set to continue growing, we are actively reaching out to travel agencies worldwide. We have embarked on this course with the goal of achieving 15 billion yen in revenue from inbound and global services alone by 2030. Next, regarding the new super evolved version of Global Wi-Fi. While we have been utilizing AI internally for quite some time, we are now preparing to introduce Global Wi-Fi type AI to our core business this August. To explain, with roaming, you have specific roaming partners, and with eSIM, you have specific eSIM partners. Since the service fundamentally relies on those partners' networks, it's only natural that there will be locations where connectivity is unavailable if the partner's network isn't accessible. However, with our global Wi-Fi cloud service currently in operation, until now, it was up to the customer. If they felt the signal was weak, there was a button to reconnect to another carrier, and our global Wi-Fi for Biz customers would switch networks accordingly. Of course, we could also switch networks remotely, since we have online access to every global Wi-Fi device worldwide. But now, using AI, the system detects when a device is out of range and automatically determines which carrier offers the best signal, then reconnects automatically. With hundreds of thousands of global Wi-Fi devices across the globe, we'll be evolving our service to provide an even more seamless experience by continuously monitoring current signal conditions and switching networks accordingly. Therefore, since network reliability is particularly important for our corporate customers, we would like to recommend this new optional service to everyone so that you can enjoy an even more seamless experience. We're excited to be bringing this to market. Thank you all for watching this lengthy results video. We are still in the challenge phase, so our current numbers may not yet meet your expectations. However, we are actively preparing to accelerate rapidly from our 2028 starting point of 10 billion yen through solid groundwork, new service initiatives, and M&A. We hope you will continue to watch us over the medium to long term. We will continue to work hard to achieve significant growth, and we appreciate your support. Thank you very much for your attention today.